Hello, friends. This is Dave Hurwitz, executive editor at ClassicsToday.com, here with the golden age of the orchestra. And today we are going back to the beginning of the 20th century. We've covered a century of symphonies, and now a century of descriptive music. You know, the 19th century was the site of the huge battle between symphonic music, abstract instrumental music, and descriptive or programmatic music, music that described something outside itself, music that was, it told a story or did something like that. And that battle was between, the Wagnerites and the Brahmsians, or the Brahmsists. I haven't, pardon me, an allergy here. The Brahmsists and the Wagner things. And, oh, look, here's Mildred. Hey, Mildred. Thank you for joining us, for at least for a while. So, that was the battle. And the question was, who came out on top? Well, the program people won. I don't think there's any question about that, because contemporary music, 20th century music, which was built for the amazing abilities of the symphony orchestra for the most part, gave up music in abstract forms. The symphony gradually declined throughout the 20th century, although it made it, as I pointed out, well into the 70s, and it can always come back in the hands of a great composer. There's still wonderful works being written and things that were written after that. But for the most part, contemporary music consists of works which are sui generis. In other words, they follow no particular established form or medium, in terms of genre, let's put it that way, like the symphony, the string quartet. They still exist. But the traditional handling of multi-movement forms has sort of gone by the wayside. And composers are ceaselessly coming up with alternative names for things. And often they spend more time finding a name than writing the music. And quite frankly, the name is often more interesting than the music they write. There's no question about that either. But the truth of the matter is that program music, descriptive music, had its origins in theatrical music. And the large symphony orchestras, the modern symphony orchestras of today, got their chops, basically not playing symphonies in municipal orchestras in crappy little German provincial towns. They were theater orchestras, opera house orchestras called on to accompany, to describe, to set the scene. That's where the larger orchestras usually were, and the more colorful ones, the ones who were allowed to make any kind of noise they wanted, whereas the symphony was supposed to be austere and abstract and idealistic and not colorful or enjoyable. Of course it was. I mean, the great composers had no truck with that theory, but it was a theory, and there was a point of view. And so we need to keep that in mind, that a lot of what the modern orchestra does, it inherited from its origins in the theater, rather than as an orchestra playing abstract symphonic music. And so in the 20th century, when these fabulous orchestras all got established with amazing players and tons of instruments and hundreds of people, and it only made sense that composers should spend a lot of time writing descriptive music, which allowed them to take advantage of the full resources of these magnificent orchestras without getting crapped all over because they called their big, colorful thing Symphony No. 2. That's what happened to Mahler. He called his big, colorful things Symphony No. 2, and everybody crapped all over him because of it. Because they said, no, a symphony can't do that. It can't have these things. It can't, of course, it was all BS and nonsense and snobbery and whatnot, but that was the position. And so it was much easier for composers to write descriptive music, even if it was looked down on by the more abstract, intellectual, artistic cognoscenti, or whatever you want to call them. So here we have a dozen. We only did 10 symphonies in our symphony series, but we're doing a dozen descriptive things just because there is so much of it. Oh my goodness. And because descriptive music comprises many different genres. There are symphonic poems, there are programmatic symphonies, some of which we didn't discuss before, but that are more symphonic poem-y than symphony-y. There are suites, there are multi-movement tone poem things. There's ballet music. There's just unbelievable quantities of stuff that we could be talking about. Theatrical music of various types. I'm going to be focusing mostly on symphonic poems, but I will be including other things as the mood takes me, because, like I said, there's just unlimited quantities of this stuff, and I know that you'll come up with your own list as well. And remember, do not say to me, well, this should be on the list, that shouldn't be on the list. This is my list. You want to do something different? Give me a list. It's your list. You have every bit as much right to have a list as I do. So here we go. You ready? Strauss, Symphonia Domestica, 1903. Because, we're dealing 1900 to 1909, the first decade of the 20th century. Oh, and don't give me any crap anymore about how 1900 really wasn't part of the 20th century. As far as I'm concerned, it was, and I don't care what anyone else has to say about it. Next topic. So, the Strauss Symphonia Domestica, wonderful work. Joseph Suk, his Scherzo fantastique. Oh, it's got one of the great tunes, and you hear it 5,000 times. Ya-da-dum, ya-da-da-da-da-dum, ba-da. I can't sing it. It doesn't sound like anything when you sing it. But when you hear it, wow! Totally beautiful. Fabulous, fabulous work. Zemlinsky, Die Seejungfrau, The Mermaid, also 1903. These are all 1903s. The Mermaid has made such a comeback, not just because of Walt Disney and The Little Mermaid and stuff like that, but it's a lovely work. One of Zemlinsky's earlier works. It was premiered on the same concert, the same program, as Schoenberg's Pelléas et Mélisande, which also dates from 1903. It's not on my list, but you can put it on yours. But it's been recorded now a bunch of times, and it's really pretty. It's a big, gigantic Straussian tone poem type thing. Absolutely wonderful, based on, of course, Hans Christian Andersen's story, The Little Mermaid. And it sounds a bit like Tchaikovsky in places. Oh, it's just wonderful. Elgar, In the South. I just love In the South. And Cockaigne, Cockaigne, whatever that thing is called. He's two big overtures / tone poems. He called them overtures. And descriptive music, of course, includes overtures, concert overtures, overtures to other things. And this one it's also very Straussian and gorgeous. Fabulous horn writing. It's rich and yummy. It's about his vacation in Italy. And you really wonder why he ever went home after you hear this. Trust me. Then there is the iconic piece of descriptive music from the first decade of the 20th century, or one of them anyway, Debussy's La Mer. Do I really need to say anything about La Mer? Really? I mean, come on. It's just, it's the sea. It's the sea thing. It's the one that does the sea. I mean, there are lots of sea pieces and water pieces from the first decade of the 20th century, too. We did Frank Bridges' The Sea. I mean, and there's Ravel's watery things. Oh, there's just tons of the stuff. First decade, second decade, in there. But Debussy's La Mer is the one that gets the palm whenever we're talking about water stuff. Sibelius, Pohjola's Daughter. I just think Pohjola's Daughter is one of the great pieces by anybody. It is perfect in form. It's an ideal, fabulously, beautifully structured sonata form, incredibly orchestrated, and fabulously programmatic. It tells the story of a guy who meets the Pohjola is a place. It's not a person. It's the daughter of the Northland. The la, suffix in Finland and in Finnish with its 22 case endings or whatever it is. It means place. Like Sibelius's house, Eino la, get it? Einola, la. So it means daughter of the Northland, and the great hero Wainamoinen, or whatever his name is, wants to, have a little tryst with her, and so she tells him to complete 3 impossible tasks, and he winds up cutting off his own leg, and she laughs at him, and he runs away in disgust. It's quite fabulous. And the cool thing about it is that it follows the story, and that you get a sense that there's stuff happening. There's a woman sitting there spinning. There's magical stuff going on. There's laughing at him when he fails, or howling when he whacks off his toe. It could be either. And there aren't 3 magical There are not three magical tasks as there are in the story. There's only two. Because Sibelius, who was really, really smart when it came to symphonic form, understood that there was only room in the work for two. And so that's what we get. And it's just, it does everything. It's incredible, incredible piece. Then Loeffler, Charles Martin Loeffler, who did things like La Mort de Tintagiles and a Pagan poem in 1906, the same year as Pohjola's daughter, and a year after La Mer, 1905. A Pagan poem is just fun. He was one of those, fin de siècle decadent types. He was like a German-American something or other, and he wrote a few really colorful, fun orchestral pieces that get taken out for a trot once in a while. Stokowski did a Pagan poem. It was right up his alley. It was right up there with the poem of Ecstasy from the same year, except that was on our list of symphonies because it was Scriabin's fourth symphony. I believe I put it on the list of symphonies. If I didn't, well, I should have, because it can go either way. It could be a symphonic poem or a symphony. So I mentioned that anyway. Loeffler is what we're talking about. Fun to get to know. Really worth hearing. I mean, his music's very, very enjoyable. Vítězslav Novák, contemporary of Josef Suk from the Czech school. Toman and the Wood Nymph. This is also a symphonic poem by Zdeněk Fibich, which comes from a few decades earlier. But Toman and the Wood Nymph, it's the typical wood nymph story. In fact, I did a whole video called something like Nymphs Are Bad for You. Go watch that video. It's all about nymphs. What they do is they sucker you into having connubial relations with them, and then somehow that wrecks your life. You're either hopelessly infatuated with them, or all the rest of life is gray and miserable or terrible. Anyway, they suck all the life out of you. Nymphs are bad news. It's a very good tone poem, though. It's good news, musically. Delius, 1907, Brigg Fair, his most popular work, and a gorgeous theme and variations on a folk song. Absolutely haunting, wonderfully, beautifully made, and never performed. When was the last time anybody? I have no idea when anybody last performed it. It's so, so beautiful. It's a masterpiece. And it gets, well, like I said, it's never performed anymore. Delius generally is, hovers on the fringes of the, musical universe. But his program music is phenomenal. There was nobody who did, the quietude of nature with such conviction. My goodness, he was so quietudinous. And Brigg Fair has some enormous climaxes. It's got 6 horns. I mean, it's written for a big orchestra. It's really, really lovely. And 1908, that was 1907, Rachmaninoff, The Isle of the Dead. Oh, that's a fun one, isn't it? Isn't it great? And it's always wonderful to do something by Rachmaninoff that's not a piano work or a piano concerto. It's not as popular as his most famous works, but it's one of his greatest, and he knew it. It's dark, it's gloomy, it's haunting. It's the perfect musical embodiment of Böcklin's picture, his painting. And the painting exists in a zillion versions. Rachmaninoff actually only saw a black and white print, but there are 5 or 6 color versions. He painted it obsessively. It's just an amazing painting. And if you look at the painting and listen to the music, you're just sold. It's so, so well done. Charles Ives, The Unanswered Question. Oh, wow. What a cool piece that is, isn't it? And it's from 1908, the same year as The Isle of the Dead. And talk about something that's done in a totally different style. I mean, one of the wonderful things about these lists is that we're talking about exploitation of the wonders of the modern orchestra, the golden age of the orchestra, and the golden age of descriptive music, therefore. So Ives, it's just for offstage strings and then a woodwind quintet. And it sounds like absolutely nothing else. The whole conception is novel, and the piece does exactly what it says it does. The strings are just in the back playing the same sort of cosmic background, and then the solo trumpet asks the question, which is atonal, and then the woodwinds try to answer, which they can't do. They get more and more frantic and then nasty and crazy until at last there's nothing but the trumpet asking its question. and the beautiful, soulful harmony of the cosmos. Amazing piece. Absolutely amazing. And last but not least, let's do a little more Vaughan Williams. Why not? The Wasps, Overture. Oh, it's so beautiful. It's so much fun. It's all English, folky, fun, romantic, luscious. 1909, a very early work of Vaughan Williams. The whole suite, he wrote incidental music for Aristophanes' play, is delightful, absolutely delightful, but the overture has a richly deserved independent existence. It is the perfect concert opener. I've played it a few times. It's wonderful. It's just wonderful. You should always begin a concert with something like this. So there you have it. The golden age of descriptive music. We've had symphonic poems, overtures, individual movements of indescribable character, multi-movement objects, just a whole pile of stuff. And there's unbelievable quantities more of it. Really good stuff, too. It's a tremendous, tremendous field for exploration. So keep on listening, friends. Send in your list. And take care.